My fellow Alabamians, as governor, I take very seriously my duty to protect the people of Alabama. This is our focus. Yesterday evening, I announced that I was issuing a state of emergency and that we were preparing resources to respond to the impending threat of Tropical Storm Nate. Overnight and during today, it has become clear that Alabama, especially on our coast, will experience some of the worst conditions from this storm. The Alabama coast is now under a hurricane and storm surge warning, and some inland counties are under the tropical storm watch. Alabamians, you must prepare and remain vigilant. This is serious business. I have remained in contact with the FEMA Administrator, Director Brock Long, and with the White House, and they continue to assure me that they will help us in any way they can. As Tropical Storm Nate moves closer to Alabama, it appears to be strengthening and will make landfall either on or near our Gulf Coast. Some areas of greatest concern are the US 98 Causeway, Dauphin Island, Fort Morgan Road, Bowler Battery, Gulf Shores, and Orange Beach. We anticipate that the storm will begin to impact us with strong winds as early as Saturday afternoon and last through Sunday afternoon, with the strongest winds arriving sometime Sunday morning. So by Saturday noon, you should be in your safe place. You need to be in your safe place by Saturday noon. This is a fast-moving storm, and we must begin preparing now. I've placed the National Guard into service, and they are pre-positioning to respond. To our citizens on the Gulf Coast, let me be very clear. Though this storm is not as strong as other recent hurricanes, it is still very dangerous and will likely bring high winds and high water surges and other damage commonly associated with these types of storms. It is better to over-prepare, my friends, and be ready than to under-prepare and be caught off guard. Before the storm arrives, make sure you have supplies such as food and water, your medications, batteries, and other necessities with you. If you're in a low-lying or flood-prone area, you should seek shelter or higher ground. Now is the time to act. The biggest danger is certainly on our coast. However, we expect the effects of Tropical Storm Nate to reach as far as north as Birmingham and Gadsden with strong winds and rain. That means virtually all of Alabamians need to be weather aware and preparing for whatever the storm may bring. Our goal is very simple: to do everything we can to prevent as much harm to person and property as possible. We cannot say for sure what will happen, but storms like this are unpredictable. Therefore, it is imperative that you make sure that now you and your family have an emergency plan in place and you're ready to take actions which are recommended. Listen to local officials, heed their warnings, and follow any recommendations they give. The state is pre-positioning resources and is standing by to assist local communities however necessary. We will continue to monitor this storm. My fellow Alabamians, this threat from Tropical Storm Nate is indeed real. Please do all you can to protect yourself, your families, and your property. We don't know what this storm will hold for us, but rest assured, the state's emergency operation plan is working as it should, and we are ready to respond however we might be needed. We cannot control this storm. The only thing we can control is our response, your response, individual response. Each of us can control our own responses. The state and our local partners are ready, and I certainly urge each of you to be ready as well. May God bless the people of Alabama and all of the people who are in the storm's path. Thank you so much, and now I'll turn the podium over to our meteorologist, Jim Stefkovich. Jim?
Thank you, Governor. So at 10 o'clock this morning, the forecast shifted to have a direct hit in Alabama. As new model data has come in late this morning, the shift is a little bit back towards the west. So this can be anticipated over the next 24 to 36 hours that when these systems start getting close to the land, they are going to shift somewhat. But we're pretty confident that any shift that occurs will keep Alabama on the east side of the storm, which is the most dangerous and highest impact part of the storm. So we're looking for rainfall before sunrise on Sunday, with sustained winds of 80 miles an hour and gusts to 90 miles an hour. The earliest arrival time of tropical storm winds will occur afternoon on Saturday for the Alabama coast, but most likely after 8 p.m. So that's why the governor's advice is exactly correct. You need to be in your safe place by noon on Saturday, especially along the coast. As the system moves northeast through central Alabama, sustained winds of 25 to 35 miles an hour with gusts as high as 55 miles an hour will occur up into the Birmingham-Gadsden area, and maybe even 40 miles an hour up towards Fort Payne and Gunnersville. Now, to put this in perspective, for Hurricane Irma, earlier this year, that had barely gusts of winds to 40 miles an hour, and that downed thousands of trees in East Alabama. So we do anticipate that numerous trees will go down and possibly cause some power outages as well. As far as rainfall, we are looking at slightly higher amounts than yesterday. Yesterday was 1 to 4 inches. Now we're looking at 2 to 5 inches, and we could have some isolated spots receiving up to 7 inches of rain. That could produce some isolated flash flooding, and combined with storm surges along the coast, could produce some very high water. But as far as widespread flash flooding and on our main rivers across much of the state, we do not anticipate a problem. The other thing that we're going to look at very closely is that threat of tornadoes, both on Saturday and Sunday, until the system passes through the state, and we should be pretty much all clear by Monday morning. So with that, I'll turn it over to Director Brian Hastings.
Thank you, Jim. Good afternoon. I'm Brian Hastings, the Director of the Alabama Emergency Management Agency. As we speak, the local elected officials in Baldwin and Mobile County are meeting and readjusting their local plans based on the information we all received from the Mobile National Weather Service briefing at 11 a.m. today. I am encouraging residents in those areas to heed the local warnings as well as Governor Ivey and follow the directions of your local EMA directors and local elected officials. Tropical Storm Nate, soon to be Hurricane Nate, is forecast to increase in speed and move north into the Gulf of Mexico late tonight, early Saturday, strengthening to a hurricane prior to landfall. At the State Emergency Operations Center in Clinton, we are continuing to monitor the tropical storm and make the necessary staffing adjustments so that we are postured to prepare and respond to any impacts and any needs that our local officials in the south or our counties in southern Alabama along the I-65 corridor need. In fact, the Alabama National Guard, at the request of Governor Ivey, is on state active duty, and they're actually plugging into Division A, which is the Baldwin and Mobile counties, and we're establishing C2 and prepping for any response that we need for the impacts of Hurricane Nate, and then Division B in Dale and Houston County will be standing up tomorrow. The State Emergency Operations Center is now activated today, and the activation level will go to level 2 tomorrow, which will be 24/7 operations. This also includes a FEMA L&O that is arriving today, and we'll plug them into our operations, and a IMAT team, which is an Incident Management Assessment team that will help us with any of the response that we have on the backside of the impacts of Hurricane Nate. The divisions throughout the state have also been put on alert. Our division coordinators help manage the needs of our local population and our local officials, and EMA, where any of their needs exceed their organic capability, we stand, the state and our partners stand ready to fill in those needs and help and assist in the response and the recovery efforts. I want to emphasize this storm will impact more than southern half of the state, and Jim has already done a very good job of describing what type of impacts you can expect all the way up the I-65 corridor. I want to emphasize this storm will impact people in different ways. So you'll have surge, flooding, storm, wind events in the south, and down trees, widespread power outages with some tornadic activity possibly in the eastern quadrant of the storm. So everyone everyone in Alabama needs to be prepared. You need to take this time now. We talked about it yesterday. We're emphasizing it today. It's time to think about your emergency stocks. Is your car filled? Do you have your batteries like the governor talked about? What's your plan to communicate? Are you electrical dependent? Are you concerned about the access to medical facilities? Do you know of someone who's like that? Make sure that they plug in to the emergency management officials and also into our medical network. This system may affect our entire state by Sunday in some way, either by means of wind, heavy rain, storm surge, or tornadoes. So if you fail to plan, you've planned to fail. For the latest information on Tropical Storm Nate, please follow at Alabama EMA, online at ema.alabama.gov. Under the Contacts tab, you'll find the County EMA contact information if you'd like to contact them. Also, the Twitter feeds for Mobile County are at Mobile AL EMA, and for Baldwin County, it's at Baldwin EMA. This concludes our press conference. Thank you for your time and continued vigilance.